It's been a couple of months since the release of the Mission 1 Pro. Now that the launch day hype has settled down, the facts and the real-life experience start to show up, and that's exactly what this video is about. I'm a passionate action camera user, and here's everything you need to know before you decide on your next action cam. Is this the right choice for you? Let's inspect. Hi, nice to see you, Michael here. And GoPro is back. Sort of. I'm not really sure for how long, and I bet that the company will be sold within the next 3 years. But we have enough facts to decide whether the Mission 1 line deserves your money or not. I spent $599 on an action camera for the first time in my life, something I would usually tell you not to do because there are far more reasonable ways to spend your money on gear. In this video, I will show you a whole lot of really impressive features from the new GoPro, but I will say at the front, this is not a good deal. It simply doesn't deliver enough for the price. Let's start with the video quality because this is the part where I will praise the Mission line the most. In this video, I will often compare it to DJI and Insta360, but the focus will be mainly on the Mission 1 Pro because it deserves it and is the most significant GoPro refreshment from the past 5 years. I've always said in my reviews that GoPro's color science is my favorite. It's nowhere near accurate or cinema-styled, but it's pleasant to look at and it makes you enjoy these scenes while you're watching. Sunny weather, beaches, pools, nature. It all looks fantastic, and I love the footage coming off the camera. Stabilization on action cameras is already at a ridiculous level these days, so there is not so much to add about this new one. It's simply excellent. The default on-screen widgets for switching aspect ratio, the field of view and the resolution are also very useful and save you time when you're setting up a shot on the fly. Now, for the want to switch to 2x or 4x zoom mid-recording? You can't. The Insta360 Ace Pro 2, which costs almost half the price, lets you do exactly that. On top, the 4x zoom mode isn't lossless and it looks rough. I would always rather crop into real 4K footage myself than have a camera call something 4K when it clearly doesn't have the pixel count to go back up. Want to have live feedback on overexposure or underexposure while shooting manual or with ND filters? You are out of luck here. The DJI Osmo Action 6 handles this much better. On the plus side, GoPro pushed the lens design to its limit and landed at 159-degree field of view, which they're calling the category's widest, and by the numbers, that checks out. The DJI Action 6 sits at 155 degrees, so GoPro does hold the wider lens crown right now. But here's the catch: switch into the widest mode, and you lose access to 240 FPS slow motion. There are so many small ifs attached to these headline features that they take away a chunk of the joy of actually using them. About the low light performance, I have to admit something that might surprise you. I have a problem with how GoPro implemented low light recording, and it's not about the image quality at all. And it puts the Mission 1 in the same conversation as the DJI and Insta360 flagships, a huge jump from the Hero 13 Black. My issue is that you cannot control shutter speed in low light mode, and you can't pick specific frame rates either. If you're on NTSC, it locks you to 30 frames per second. If you are on PAL, it drops to 25 FPS. This carries through the whole lineup too. Normal mode gives you 4K at 240 FPS on NTSC, but only 200 FPS on PAL, and the burst slow motion tops at 1080p 960 on NTSC versus 1080p at 800 on PAL. Being able to manually pick your hertz setting while keeping your frame rate would have solved this, and it's something GoPro own users have been asking for years. Why does this matter in practice? Well, if I'm shooting at 30 frames per second for the rest of my footage, low light mode forces me to choose between choppy playback from a frame rate mismatch or visible flicker under artificial lighting. These are the small details your favorite first wave reviewers are not really mentioning. You know the reasons, of course. And I want to be clear, I didn't test this camera any different than I test a DJI or an Insta360 release. So if you just need a GoPro that handles low light decently, the Mission 1 Pro is a solid match. But if you need advanced manual control over how low light footage actually gets captured, you might come away a little disappointed. Next up, design and build quality, starting with the good. Nick Woodman wants us to believe that this is a completely different line from the Hero series, something far more advanced. But unbox it, and the packaging is identical to what you'd get with the Hero 13 or even the Hero 12. Zero advancement there. That said, it's still a solid packaging, the same materials, the same overall feel, the mounting system at the bottom hasn't changed, and I made sure to test it with my existing chest strap and a couple of monopods. Everything fits without issue. It feels rugged and durable, and button placement is close to what Hero 13 users already know. There are two real problems here. First is the size. The Mission 1 Pro is noticeably bigger than the Hero 13 and the Hero 12, which means a chunk of your old GoPro accessories, like the lens mods, the cages and so on, they become useless overnight. Unsurprising for GoPro at this point, honestly. As a reminder, DJI kept the Action 3, Generation 4, Generation 5 practically identical in shape and dimensions, while swapping out sensors and chipsets across all these generations, and they even kept the same batteries during the whole time. GoPro's bigger 1-inch sensor is a fair excuse on paper, but it's not the only reason the body had to grow this much. Now, for the technical side, it's where things stay frustratingly vague again. GoPro confirms the GP3, which is a 5nm chip with a dedicated AI-neutral processing unit. Yes, it is noticeably faster than GP2, which you can feel just from how snappy the menus are now. We know the field of view, we know the battery capacity and the waterproof rating, and honestly, there's a lot to like on paper. But GoPro has not published a single core count or RAM figure for the GP3 anywhere. And the sensor, it's a 50-megapixel 1-inch quad-Bayer sensor with dual gain outputs, which strongly hints at Sony, given they pioneered that exact tech. But nobody, not GoPro, not any reviewer, not even the FCC listing so far, has confirmed the actual sensor model. Until probably someone does a proper teardown. I guess up until then we're stuck guessing. On the connectivity side, there's good news. Bluetooth support works well, and the Mission series pairs easily with DJI's own Mic 2 series, which is a nice surprise for a company that usually keeps things locked to its own ecosystem. One odd detail though, GoPro's wireless mic system records at 24-bit depth, not the 32-bit float that most of the competition has already moved to. Accessories are also a mixed bag. A dive housing, ND filters, the new wireless microphone system and a selfie stick, and also a remote that's gonna roughly add another $300 on top, which pushes your total investment of a GoPro Mission 1 Pro with accessories close to $1,000. GoPro did throw the camera cage into early bird bundles, which softens the blow a bit. Its size is honestly a bit too much, but the vertical mounting option is the standout feature if that's something you need. I forced myself to use it for a while, but it's not something I'd want to carry space for while traveling. Battery life is another strong point, mostly. A few caveats though, while the camera is charging, you don't get a percentage readout, you actually need to power it on first, then check. Thankfully, it does support fast charging. Subjectively, I felt like I needed to recharge more often than I do with the DJI Action 5 or Action 6, even though the raw battery life numbers have really improved generation over generation, and independent testers have published solid data confirming that. Reviewing clips on the camera itself and shooting slow motion drain the battery fastest in my experience. The best part is that Hero 13 batteries fit right in as a backup. They charge a bit slower, hold less capacity, but they will get you through in a pinch. The software side is decent, it's still the familiar GoPro Quick app and it hasn't changed dramatically. Now that DJI has added NAS upload support to their ecosystem, I kinda miss it whenever I pick up a GoPro because with my DJI camera, I just walk in the door, it connects to my home network and the footage lands straight into my assigned folder automatically. GoPro lets you do something similar through their cloud, but it's slower and it's just not the same workflow. Inside the app, there are plenty of editing features and a decent built-in editor, but it's still nowhere near as capable as what Insta360 offers in their app. On the advanced side, Mission 1 Pro keeps GoPro Labs alive, the community-driven custom firmware option, but you will need patience since support for brand new hardware always takes the community a while to catch up on. Can I have my rant minutes now, please? Remember all the hype which was surrounding the Mission 1 Pro ILS that everybody was so excited about? And now nobody actually uses? And the naming of my unit, just call it Hero 14. I mean, instead of this, now we have a company called GoPro selling something called the Mission 1 Pro, which sounds more like a video game side quest than a camera. And I guess it's time to talk about the smaller drawbacks. The display, which has no auto brightness feature, again. There's still no support for Apple Find My or Google's Find Hub networks. The phone app still feels unpolished in places. The minimum focus distance, which is not as short anymore due to the larger sensor inside, so be careful with soft-looking vlogging footage. And there are a handful of firmware limitations and the price, which is simply too high for what you get. My conclusion is this. If GoPro wants to market the Mission 1 Pro as a cinema, pro or creator camera, it just doesn't deliver on that promise given the price. The footage is usable, sure, but in daylight, the quality bump over the older GoPro Hero line is small. At night, the difference is real, it's very noticeable, but even there, it's not meaningfully better than what the DJI Action 6 series or the Insta360 Ace Pro line already offer, and some of those cameras cost roughly half of the price of the Mission 1 Pro. Most of my frustration comes down to this. It's bulkier, it's heavier, and it doesn't beat the competition by enough to justify the price bump. At this point, it feels late for GoPro to build out a broader ecosystem, mostly because it's too expensive and the company likely doesn't have the resources to pull it off right now, especially with GoPro reportedly exploring a possible sale after a rough couple of quarters. So GoPro's real hope seems to be that DJI's US sales restrictions are going to remain, and that, by the way, happened suspiciously convenient at a time for the GoPro launch. And that combined with the Insta360's own marketing missteps probably might push more people towards spending serious money on a new GoPro. I wouldn't recommend it though. And while I can't say I'm unhappy owning the Mission 1 Pro, I'm not too happy either. I'm unhappy because the value proposition feels off. Take the price out of the equation. This is a wonderful action camera, not a cinema camera. If I were the big name YouTubers reviewing it, I would have shot all the aero on a GoPro. Well, they did not. So overall, this is one of the strangest feelings I've had with a piece of tech. I really enjoy using it, happy to see GoPro catching up. But in the back of my mind, I know I made a pretty bad financial call. And there we go. Follow my advice, don't buy tech you don't need. And if you're on the fence about this one, this is probably your answer. Link to buy it is in the video description as usual. Let me know in the comments, are you Team Mission 1 Pro or you're sticking with your Hero 13 for another cycle, if such one appears at all. Thank you very much for watching. I'm Michael. I'll see you soon.